The UFC heavyweight division has been going on a downward spiral for the last couple years now, and this video is going to be me kind of doing all the pinpoint, reasons to why it's been going like this. It's becoming one of the worst divisions to watch. I mean, we even got these crappy fight night main events, like for example, Tuivasa, Marcin Tybura, garbage fights with garbage fighters because the entire top, like everything outside the top five, every fighter outside the top five is very unskilled, and it's starting to really annoy me. So let's get really right into this. So this is going to be like called the Ngannou era, Ngannou being the champion era. So this is the start of the downfall. Obviously, it's with Ngannou beating the champion Stipe Miocic at the time at UFC 260. This was back in 2021. I believe it was either in March. I think 261 was in April. But anyways, yeah, after this, Ngannou defended the title once. And yeah, Stipe Miocic did beat Ngannou the first fight. This is the second fight they had. He beat him by decision. And obviously, if you can see here, Ngannou knocked him out in the second fight. There isn't much to talk about here. It's obvious. We all know Ngannou won this fight by knockout. So now, this is UFC 265. Now, UFC 265 was actually supposed to be headlined by Francis Ngannou, but Ngannou did not want to come back so early after 5 months. As funny as it sounds, I don't know if he was injured. So they actually set up an interim title fight with Derek Lewis and Cyril Gane. And I did a video on my TikTok. Yes, TikTok. If you guys want to watch my TikTok, it's going to be in the description, of my least favorite events. And this is one of them because Cyril Gane and Derek Lewis was such a bad fight. You had Cyril Gane staying on the outside, trying not to get hit by Derek Lewis, and Derek Lewis was just not trying, and he gave up in I think the third round. So obviously Gane won the interim title, which would later set up his fight with Ngannou. But yeah, Francis just didn't want to fight. He didn't want to come back so early. Again, it was 5 months, but even though he, didn't. Okay, I don't know if he was injured. I don't know, but he just didn't want to come back so early. So that kind of just shows the Ngannou era, man. I mean, the guy was not fighting, was not doing title defenses. It was very minimal. Now this goes up to UFC 270 is when Ngannou did defend his title, and it was against Cyril Gane in a horrible fight. This event was a flop in my opinion. I mean, the real seller for this event was Brandon Moreno and Figueiredo. But this was just garbage, and Ngannou won a very close decision to Cyril Gane. I know some people actually think Cyril Gane won that fight. When I was scoring it at the time, I did think Ngannou won the last 3 rounds. This was such an unsatisfying fight, and I think the real seller for this fight was Ngannou's Ngannou being, against the UFC, so people really wanted to see if Ngannou was gonna lose and see what happens if he does win. And obviously he won. Again, like I said, a close decision. Again, there's not much to talk about for this fight. I mean, it kind of just showed how bad Cyril Gane's grappling is, and we will later find out on that when we get to that part. But yeah, no, Ngannou just kind of out-grappled him the last 3 rounds. It was not a very interesting fight. Especially for a heavyweight title fight, you expect knockouts, you expect fun striking, and it just kind of turned into a very, very, very boring title defense from Ngannou. So this is the end of Ngannou's era. After UFC 270, Ngannou was a free agent, and he was trying to get so much money out of the UFC, even though he was not a star. This guy was not a star at all. Again, his main selling point for UFC 270 was that he was against the UFC and that he was trying to get fighter pay, and Ngannou was trying to get fighter pay to go up, and he was also trying to get sponsors on shorts, and it was just all of this thing that the UFC were obviously not going to do. And the UFC actually offered Ngannou the most amount of money out of any previous heavyweight champion. Even though Nagano is a boring person, they still offered him so much money because they wanted to see the Jon Jones fight. That's all we wanted to see. I didn't care if Nagano would fight one more time. We all wanted to see him versus Jon Jones. But Nagano, I guess, didn't want to see himself against Jon Jones, and he later vacated his belt and would go on to sign with the PFL and box Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, as we all know. Now, he almost beat Tyson Fury. Again, I didn't watch the fight, didn't really care about it, but I've heard that it was a robbery. I see that he did knock down Tyson Fury, but I also feel like Tyson Fury didn't really train for Nagano and got knocked out by Anthony Joshua. So I feel like, I don't want to say fumbled the bag per se, because obviously he made $30+ million. But for me, I feel like if he went on and signed that contract with the UFC, whatever amount he was making, and he went on to beat Jon Jones, I think that kind of rises his stock way more than, almost beating Tyson Fury and losing to Anthony Joshua. And that's kind of why people say fumble the bag. We're not talking about money. We're talking about his legacy. And that's, to me, what's more important. If I'm a fighter, I am more worried about my legacy. And obviously I'm not a fighter, so people are gonna be like, well, what are you even talking about? But if I was a fighter, I would be more worried about what people think about me and not what my bank account thinks. So again, that's why people say fumble the bag, and I kind of tend to agree. I feel like if Tyson Fury really did train harder for that fight, it would have looked different. But again, didn't watch the fight, didn't care. Again, I'm a huge UFC guy, so I'm gonna kind of go on the UFC's side for most things. So that's just how I am. Some people disagree, like Ariel Helwani. Now, this is the Jon Jones era, the lowest point of the UFC heavyweight division. This is the era we're in currently. To me, this era makes the Nagano era look fucking absolutely amazing, okay? Jon Jones, we finally get to see him return, and it's at UFC 285, and they matched him up with Cyril Gane. So, what we get is a soy Frenchman, like I said in my text there, because I'm really annoyed by this fight. This fight was the most unsatisfying way to end. I mean, I hate Jon Jones so much. I mean, this is the only fighter in the UFC I honestly do not like at all. And I don't know if Cyril Gane, took a paycheck to dive. I honestly don't know. It almost feels like it, because Jon Jones did not even have him in a very good choke, and Cyril Gane decided to just, I tap now because I can't grapple. The guy can't grapple, and it was absolutely destroying. And the fact that I think this one, the fight card of the year or something like that, the UFC event of the year, which is disgusting to me because this entire fight card was meh. But anyways, obviously Jones won the title, and he instantly calls out Stipe Miocic, which at the time was fine, I guess, even though Stipe hasn't even fought since UFC 260. Again, like I said, that was in 2021. That was probably about 2 years ago after UFC 285, actually. That was probably almost 2 years ago when UFC 285 did happen. And so the UFC obviously went on, and they made the fight. They made the fight at UFC 295 in New York in MSG. But as we know, Jon Jones suffered an injury. Which, to me, I'm not gonna lie, as a Jon Jones hater, I was super happy because I didn't want to see Jones versus Miocic. Miocic shouldn't have been fighting for a heavyweight title. The guy was doing nothing but he was doing nothing in the UFC. Like, he stopped fighting for 2 years, and in my opinion, if you're not active and you're in the rankings for at least a year and a half, if you don't have an injury, okay, if you do not have an injury, obviously if you have an injury, it's different, but Miocic didn't have an injury, as we know, and the guy was not active. In my opinion, cut him from the rankings. If you're not active, if you're not going to be an active fighter, and because, and obviously if it's not because of an injury, I feel like you should be cut from the UFC's rankings. Obviously not cut the fighter completely, but just why? Because it just holds up the rankings, it holds up the division. It's It's just a crap. And now we're gonna get these like weird Cyril Gahn fights, and it's really frustrating. And kind of just bring me to the GOAT Tom Aspinall. Now, obviously, after Jones' injury, they made a fight to save the UFC 295 card, and that was against Pavlovich. Pavlovich, by the way, was seen as like the scariest guy in the UFC heavyweight division in the current generation of the heavyweights, because he was on a 6-fight knockout streak with wins over Derek Lewis, Tai Tuivasa, Curtis Blades, and you name it. I mean, the guy was knocking out so many people. He's a scary Russian dude, man. And Tom Aspinall knocks him out in about 2 minutes. And by the way, this is obviously an interim title fight, and because Jon Jones was injured. So, and one thing I want to add to the bottom here was UFC never offered Stipe one of these guys to fight. UFC didn't want Stipe fighting these guys, and I know for a fact it's because they know he would have lost. Because there's no way Stipe comes back and beats even a Pavlovich or a Tom Aspinall. I don't even know if Stipe would beat someone like Curtis Blades at the moment. I think Stipe shouldn't be even near a title shot. But obviously Tom Aspinall won the title, the interim title, against Pavlovich. Again, like I said, the boogeyman of the division. Everyone was terrified of Pavlovich. He was the backup fighter for UFC 295, which now makes me feel like if it was Stipe who got injured instead of Jon Jones, they might not even offer Jon Jones Pavlovich, which is just horrible in my opinion. And the fact that Dana White is we're not even gonna get into that's the next slide. But anyways, yeah, Tom Aspinall has been a heavyweight prospect that everyone's been looking out for. I think he has the shortest fight duration in total out of any single average fight duration out of any fighter at the moment. I think it's like 2 minutes or something. I mean, the guy is really, really fun to watch. Great grappling and a really heavy puncher, clearly. I mean, the guy knocked out Pavlovich, who Pavlovich has been fighting these heavy hitters for these last 6 fights of his knockout streak. I mean, the thing is, yes, he fought Derek Lewis, who Derek Lewis sucks, but he was in the pocket with Derek Lewis, and Derek Lewis was catching him, and Pavlovich didn't really even get wobbled, it looked like. So, yeah, so the GOAT Tom Aspinall beats Pavlovich, becomes the interim title fight, and that's where we are now. And right now we're in a division where we have 2 champions, and Jon Jones is still refusing to fight the number 1 contender in Tom Aspinall. Jon Jones wants a legacy fight with Stipe Miocic, even though this isn't boxing. This is the UFC. The UFC has always been the promotion where the best fight the best. It's not the legends fight the legends. Now, if you want to make Jon Jones vacate his title and be the number 1 contender, and you can make a co-main event or something, I don't know, but he shouldn't be holding the title if he's refusing to fight the number 1 contender. It just kind of backlogs the entire division if we're just gonna wait for Jon Jones and Jon Jones to even fight Stipe when he should be fighting the interim champion. Now, the interim champion means they are the champion until the champion is back and ready to fight again, and then the interim champion fights the champion. Now, if you think about it, right, and this is one thing I want to bring up. If you go back to, like I said in the slide, UFC 265, when Cyril Gahn won the interim title, imagine what would have happened if Francis Ngannou was like, no, I don't want to fight Cyril Gahn. I want to go fight, I don't know, Derek Lewis, right? Or someone like that, Curtis Blades or something stupid like that. He used to be like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, we're just going to make you vacate the title. We're just going to cut you from being a champion. But the fact that it's because of Jon Jones, they're absolute. I don't get why the UFC likes Jon Jones so much. Jon Jones has caused the UFC so much trouble, and they're just letting him pick his opponents, and it's not fair for someone like. I feel so bad for Tom Aspinall. He's put in so much work, and Jon Jones will put out a tweet about, Tom Aspinall hasn't beat these champions. He hasn't beat former champions, blah, blah, blah. How is Tom Aspinall supposed to beat former champions when The only former champion that I can think of right now that's in the heavyweight division that isn't top ranked is Andrei Arlovsky, who Tom Aspinall did beat. And how is he supposed to beat any other former champions when the only former champions or current champions is you, Jon Jones, and Stipe Miocic, who are both refusing to fight Tom Aspinall? And it's killing the division, and I'm so sick of it. And either make Jon Jones vacate the title or have him fight Tom Aspinall. And I don't get why they don't want to do that. I feel like 95% of the fans want to see Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. The only people that want to see Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic are massive Jon Jones fans, which again, I cannot believe that there's Jon Jones fans in this world after everything he's done. It's crazy to me. And so yeah, Jon Jones just doesn't want to fight a hungry contender in Tom Aspinall. And I keep on repeating myself, but it's crazy to me. And yeah, it's turning into boxing. If we're gonna keep on doing this division's gonna be turning into boxing. And now, one other thing I do want to bring up is people. Do I even bring this up? I'm gonna bring it up. Sean O'Malley, right? Again, this is totally off topic, but it kind of has, I kind of want to talk about it. People were mad about Sean O'Malley and Chito Vera fighting each other at UFC 299 because they thought Chito didn't deserve a title shot, which he didn't. He did not deserve a title shot. But the difference between Sean O'Malley and Chito Vera and Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic is that Chito Vera had a win over Sean O'Malley, and also Chito Vera was active and he was coming off a win. Yes, he did lose to Corey Sandhagen, but there's a difference between that and I've seen Jon Jones fans bring that up before, so that's kind of why I want to bring it up here. And yeah, I feel like it's enough rambling on about how much I hate the heavyweight division. Again, in my opinion, cut everything below the top 5, so top 6, top 7, top 8, whatever, and just keep the top 5 because honestly it is uninteresting as hell. So yeah, that's gonna be it.